What if I told you guys WWE is promising, or at least they plan to promise, which we all know how well that usually goes. What if I told you WWE is planning a quality change in their programming when they get back live in front of fans? What if I told you Vince McMahon knows the current product is stale and boring, and he wants to change all that is wrong with the current WWE product? What if I told you that WWE is bringing back more theme shows and that they plan to integrate these shows into Monday night and Friday night, like Cyber Sunday, like a Raw Roulette, like an old school Raw? What if I told you WWE is planning to bring back the King of the Ring tournament? What if I told you WWE may potentially be planning a World Wrestling Cup tournament that will include Raw, NXT, and Friday Night SmackDown, and it will come with a point system? You may be thinking, JD, are you booking a video game? Did you hit your head once too many times? Are you becoming a WWE shill? Why do you have so much hope for a dying creative product? Ladies and gentlemen, this is all in the news, and we are going to talk about it today on Off the Script. Also, all the AEW geeks out there that have a problem with AEW coming to Queens, coming to Arthur Ashe Stadium because it's not Madison Square Garden, and the fact that AEW is in the quote-unquote red due to their video game development. Oh man, do I have some words for you. And WWE has finally given Piper Niven a new name, as they now have trademarked her new name on Monday Night Raw. And man, oh man, do I have a lot to say about that. All this, plus so much more, on episode 381 of Off the Script. Guys, thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 381 for your June 19th, 2021. I'm not sure if you even give a single shit, but this Sunday is Hell in a Cell. Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. We will be covering the entire show this weekend live on YouTube. But before that, we got to get Off the Script out of the way, man. We got so much stuff to go over with you all today, including what I talked about at the top of this very podcast today in the intro. I also have news on Edge. Where is WWE going as far as plans for Edge going into SummerSlam? I pitched Edge versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam if, and only if, Bryan was available to WWE. He would walk back in. It's a ready-made feud for both of those guys before they move on to something completely different away from each other. Or the other one that I was contemplating and mulling over for Edge going into SummerSlam is a rumored match with Seth Rollins. Where's WWE's mindset when it comes to Edge? What is he going to be doing? Is he going to be a heel? Is he going to be a babyface? We don't know. but I got news on that. More news on Brock Lesnar. Apparently WWE and all of the sources in and around the internet wrestling community believe that Brock Lesnar is not going to be back this year in WWE. I, again, just like last weekend when I talked about it, call absolute grade A bullshit on that. I might have to reiterate exactly what I said last weekend in regards to that, but I got the very latest on Brock Lesnar. And USA Network is not pleased with the fact that WWE, for absolutely no reason, gave us a Hell in a Cell on Friday Night SmackDown. Now, before we talk about that, I want to make everybody very aware that I'm recording this at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, so I don't know what WWE has planned for SmackDown on Friday night. I don't know what they have planned for Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio. I don't know why they moved the Hell in a Cell match, which more than likely would have main evented Hell in a Cell on Sunday to Friday. I don't know why WWE does anything. The first thing I want to say is they're looking for a desperate ratings jump on Friday night. But I'm not sure if that is the case. It certainly plays into that, but I'm not sure if that is legitimately the case for WWE. But USA Network is not happy. USA Network is not happy. SmackDown is getting Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio inside Hell in a Cell on Friday. So USA Network is like, well, what about us? We got Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. Why don't we get that? Then what's the sense of having a pay-per-view? Not everybody can get what they want, but they're not happy. I'll go over that report as well today. We have a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Thank you so much for joining me on episode 381. Today, sponsored by Sheath. Sheath men's underwear, man. I got 3 pairs. I got a white one, I got a red one, and I got a black one, man. Let's be real. Let's be honest. You guys know when it comes to men's underwear that comfort is the most important thing. You don't want shit sticking. You don't want shit hanging. You want everything nicely packaged together, man. You got to take care of your family jewels, especially in the summertime. You can't go into the summer with inadequate underwear. I mean, give me a break, man. They are sponsoring the show today, and I want to bring them on board with the podcast today. You guys are going to go to sheathunderwear.com/scripts, and you're going to save 20% off anything on their website, man. We'll do an unpackaging, and we'll go over Sheath Underwear and why I love them and why I'm wearing a pair right now, which you guys, I mean, you don't really need to know my business, but I'm glad to have them on board, man. Sheathunderwear.com. Use code SCRIPTS at checkout for 20% off. That is sheathunderwear.com/script. Use code SCRIPT for 20% off. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys have that bell turned on so you know when this podcast goes live every single week. When all the live streams go live every single week, you'll be notified even when it hits the sub boxes right before, so you guys can enter the chat and hang out with everybody before the show actually goes live on the air. Once again, I will be live on YouTube for Hell in a Cell Sunday, covering the show. Not much going on, especially now that they moved Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio to Friday night, and they will no longer be, from what I am sensing on Sunday's show. We will go over that a little bit later. If you guys want to support the podcast, man, there are a variety of ways to do that. Number one, we got bonfire.com. Make sure you guys go and get your t-shirts. Bonfire is the exclusive home for now of Off the Script and JD from New York. I got some exciting news, man. I am actually in discussion with a website designer. We are looking at getting everything on a centralized platform, and I'm meaning merchandise, homepage, landing page, and I may be putting that into development with this individual that I'm working with, who is very talented at what he does, and we may have our own landing page for merchandise and everything regarding the podcast, man. And I mean merchandise, new merchandise, exclusive merchandise that you can only get on the new JD website that is hopefully coming soon. I want to have it rolled out sometime this year. I'm looking at, depending on his availability, I'm looking at potentially, and I'm letting you guys know this right now so it's a seed planted, potentially right before Survivor Series. So we may be doing something along those lines there. We are in the discussion phases right now, so look forward to that, man. But you guys can get everything on Bonfire right now, which will be closing down eventually. So go get your t-shirts, man. Bonfire.com. There's a bunch of stuff on there. Go and check it out. Patreon. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. We got the very exclusive dugout mugs with the off-the-script logo carved into the baseball bat. Awesome, awesome stuff there. Go and get that. You can sign up annually to get that. That's the only way you could get that, is annually. Plus, you're going to get some extra koozies that are left over. Plus, you're going to get an Are We Live t-shirts, all exclusive to Patreon. That is patreon.com/JD from NY206. Go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. There may be an extra floating about that you might have missed. NXT's review did great. Samoa Joe seems to be helping already. Monday Night Raw. A rant on Eva Marie that will live in the infamy of Off the Script, man. I hit on all truths, man. Very happy with it. Go and check it out if you guys want my thoughts on the horrendous and pathetic and embarrassing debut, or re-debut, repackaging of one Eva Marie, who is no longer all red everything. She is pink-haired, but she didn't throw a single punch on Monday night, which is an embarrassment to women's wrestling. So go and check that out. That is live on the channel. And make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me out, helps the video out, helps the channel out. Make sure you guys do that. Let's try for 1,500 thumbs up. That's a lofty goal, but I know you guys can do it. Hit that thumbs up. I would really, really appreciate it on the video down below. Let's start at the top, man. Let's talk about Edge. We got some minor SummerSlam news here in regards to Edge and Brock Lesnar. Edge, he will certainly be at SummerSlam. He will certainly be one of the many faces that WWE is going to use at the forefront of them going back live in front of fans. You're going to see your Edge. You're going to see your John Cena. You're going to see your Brock Lesnar. I'm assuming WWE's planning for The Rock, or at least they're trying for The Rock going into Survivor Series. But WWE has a plan for Edge. And he will be in a top program at SummerSlam with a top heel. Edge reportedly is coming back as a baby face. He got a huge baby face reaction at WrestleMania, and that was the best match, the biggest match of the entire year so far for WWE. He came to WrestleMania as a babyface. He actually went into WrestleMania as a heel because he was getting a lot of good reactions online as far as what he used to do as a heel. The Rated R Superstar came back, then he went into WrestleMania, and with that crowd, I mean, it's very difficult not to see that he was an overwhelming fan favorite, which I'm not surprised by. He will return as a babyface in time for SummerSlam, and the company has big plans for the Rated R Superstar. The Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting John Alba's initial report. And SummerSlam regarding Edge, it looks like he may be taking on one of SmackDown's top heels. Now, that list is very, very short. So I don't know who that means outside of one name that I'm thinking about right now, and that is the Messiah himself, Seth Rollins. So we'll have to see what WWE actually has planned. I'm assuming with that first live show, we will see Edge back, as WWE will only have a month to build for SummerSlam from that July 16th date, which is the first date they will be back in front of live fans on Friday night. I guess this works. Obviously, they had, I don't remember the year it was. It might have been 2012, 2013, I'm assuming, that they had a little back and forth in the ring on Monday Night Raw. I'm assuming that was when Rollins was heel and Edge was back doing the cutting edge, I believe, or something along the lines. Maybe Becky Lynch was involved. I have no idea. I don't really remember. It's Monday Night Raw. Please forgive me. I guess it makes sense. I guess it's best if Daniel Bryan is not available. I don't know what Daniel Bryan's status is with the company, but if Daniel Bryan's status is he's on his way back to the WWE and they want him back for SummerSlam because he's a big name, I don't see how Rollins is better than a Bryan match against Edge. I mean, with Rollins and Edge, yeah, it's probably going to be a very good match. Yeah, it's probably going to look good on paper when you're running down the overall SummerSlam card. But is it the best match for the brand? I don't think so. Now, again, this all hinges on Daniel Bryan. I don't know. WWE has to be creative if they're not going to get Bryan back. Edge and Rollins can work. But what I'm thinking of and where my mindset is, what do you do with Big E? You're going to put Big E back in the Intercontinental title picture? Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Apollo. What is Big E going to do at SummerSlam? That's where I am at. We have to start focusing on rebuilding Big E. Big E going back for the Intercontinental Championship is just WWE Creative going around in circles. I don't think that's necessarily the good thing for Big E to do. I think everybody wants to see Big E grow. You can't keep Big E stagnant. I think a match between Big E and Seth Rollins is probably a little bit more beneficial to Big E than a match with Rollins and Edge. That's the way I'm thinking about it. Edge, you could probably put up against anybody, man. You could put him on Monday Night Raw and have him go up against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. You could do what I originally wanted to do at WrestleMania. You can have John Cena come back. You could maybe tease doing John Cena versus Edge. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, nor would I do it, but I'm just throwing out ideas. Edge, you could put him up against an AJ Styles. I don't think that's going to happen either because I think AJ and Omos are going to be going up against Matt Riddle and Randy Orton for the tag team championships. So right now you're going to bring in Edge and there really isn't much for Edge to do on the WWE main roster. There really isn't anybody there for Edge to really go up against and have it be important. And that's another factor in this that you really have to take into consideration. You got to make Edge and whatever he does feel important. What is the most important thing for Edge at SummerSlam? It's a very sticky situation. It's something that if it's not important enough, it's going to throw the entire card off balance. You got some ideas, but I think you could do anything, really. You know, I don't want to throw it out there in the universe, but WWE could probably, and I said this, probably get away with Jinder Mahal versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. I mentioned Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre, but I don't think Finn Balor, it probably wouldn't make sense if he shows up when there's going to be a draft only a week and a half, 2 weeks after SummerSlam has concluded. So it might not be best for Balor to go up against Drew McIntyre. They could easily do Mahal and McIntyre. It would be a blip on the radar. Nobody's really going to care about it because there's going to be so much other that's going on, so much other stuff going on Summerslam's card that looking at how terrible it is, it might not be a glaring issue staring you in the face. Terrible. With all the other great shit that may be going on. What if we do Edge and Balor? What if Balor comes back? It's not that, I guess, detrimental to Monday Night Raw. It's not going to really be factoring into long-term storytelling. You're going to need something that's in the now. What if Edge shows up and says, I want to challenge, the very best in WWE. I'm here because I want to make this right. This is my final chapter. And Balor comes out. Then Balor is introduced to the main roster, and then Balor can get drafted to Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, depending on where WWE goes. So if you're really looking at it, does Edge and Rollins make sense for SummerSlam? Now that I threw Balor into the equation, we can do Mahal. Again, I'm not advocating for it. I don't want it. I don't want to see it. But I'm thinking in lines of WWE. They could get away with a terrible match like that. McIntyre, Mahal. Then we can move on from that as quickly as possible. McIntyre, Mahal, Rollins, Big E, Edge, and Balor. Cena, Roman. Becky versus Bayley. Asuka. I don't know where she fits in with all this stuff. Charlotte, I don't know where she fits in. Rhea Ripley, I don't know where she fits in. I don't. But on the SmackDown side of things, you got Bayley and Becky. Becky, I'm assuming, is going to SmackDown because Seth is over there. And then we got Bianca and Sasha. It's a pretty damn good SummerSlam card, if you ask me. Then you add the tag team title situation. Mysterios versus the Usos. Omos and Styles versus Riddle and Orton. I went over this. I went over this card already. This could potentially be a great SummerSlam card if WWE plays their cards correctly. So let me know what you guys think about that. Top heel, I don't necessarily think it needs to be a top heel, as long as it's a major name. Balor and Edge sounds a little bit more interesting to me than a Rollins and Edge. Rollins right now, I don't find him interesting at all. So I think you put him with Big E and you give Big E the rub and you start building up Big E to be a main event guy. That's what I think should be the most important thing in WWE's eyes. Brock Lesnar. No plans for Brock Lesnar to return to WWE anytime soon, says the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I don't believe this at all. WWE is going back live in front of fans. We're getting Cena. We're getting Edge. I don't know where Bryan sits. Lesnar is a part of that. You would be a fool to think not. Now, I talked about this last week. Some people in WWE, I don't know who they are, management, goons, geeks, people that sit on their throne and really should have nothing to do with pro wrestling. Some of those management officials, higher-ups, think that Brock Lesnar's situation is better saved for WrestleMania next year. I don't know what that means. You're going to wait on Brock Lesnar as Brock Lesnar is going to be another year older, and you don't want to bring Brock Lesnar back to make an immediate impact on WWE television, as long as he stays away from the title. I don't think Lesnar needs to come back and be thrusted into a title picture. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see that. We've been through that, and I would like something fresh for Brock Lesnar. There's not really many matches left for Brock Lesnar. We've done them all. Styles, Bryan, Balor, Punk, right? McIntyre, Strowman, Joe. How many more matches does Brock Lesnar have that is a Brock Lesnar must-see attraction? He's run through everybody. Now, Lashley is one of those matches. I don't know if WWE is going to do that. Lashley could be advocating for it. He could be mentioning it every time he's interviewed. I don't know if WWE wants to do that. I don't know if Brock wants to do that. It would be great for both guys. It would be great for the fans. But I don't think WWE is going to want to do that. The only way I think we get Brock and Lashley in the ring is if McIntyre is included. Now, again, I want to be very upfront with you guys. I'm recording this. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday afternoon. I don't know what's happening at SmackDown tonight. I don't know what's happening at Hell in a Cell. Might as well talk about this here. Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio is happening on Friday Night SmackDown. The reason why I think this is happening is because, if you guys remember last week, I talked about a situation where Roman, this was on the Friday Night SmackDown review that I coupled with AEW. It was a super show, AEW Dynamite and SmackDown last week. I was in Texas. If you guys didn't see that, I'm going to go over here. Roman is shooting on the creative team, on management. He has requested that he only goes on first or last, nowhere in between. That's somebody that's confident about his work because he knows he's good enough that nobody's going to be able to follow him, and he's the main event. He's the biggest thing in the company, and rightfully so, he should be in the main event, no matter who's on the card, no matter what else is happening. WWE, I believe they may have wanted Roman and Rey in the main event of Hell in a Cell. So they moved it to Friday night. Yeah, they could be desperate for ratings. Yeah, they could be looking at a nice increase on Friday night to bolster that rating and make the Fox executives happy. That is definitely a reason. But the other thing is, and I mentioned this on Twitter the night that news was breaking, what if WWE is moving that match to Friday night, though it doesn't make any sense? What if they're moving it to Friday night and they're giving McIntyre and Lashley the main event because they want Drew McIntyre in the main event, in the final shot of the show, winning the WWE Championship back? I don't know. That is definitely a possibility. Well, the other thing that I mentioned on social media is if Roman and Mysterio is moving over to Friday night, yeah, McIntyre could win the WWE title and we could have a big parade, but it would be in front of no fans again. And WWE, this is their final show before they get back live on the road. They only have a couple more weeks to go. What if WWE is using this Rey and Roman situation on Friday to facilitate something bigger happening on Sunday's pay-per-view? What if Brock Lesnar is due to come back and everybody was told he's not making an appearance, WWE's got no plans for him, yada, yada, yada. What if Lesnar is there on Sunday? What if Lesnar causes and I hate saying this inside of Hell in a Cell, what if Lesnar causes another no contest? What if McIntyre, with the stipulation of, if I don't win this match, if I don't win the title, I can never challenge for the WWE Championship again as long as you are champion? What if Lesnar comes in, causes a no DQ or a no contest rather, causes a disqualification of sorts, and then McIntyre uses that as an excuse to get yet another championship match at SummerSlam? WWE clearly wants Lesnar back. The fans clearly want Lashley versus Lesnar. Maybe Lesnar doesn't want it. Maybe WWE doesn't want to do a one-on-one match between them. So they mix the best of both worlds. What if we get Lesnar, Lashley, and McIntyre in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship, with McIntyre pinning Lashley at SummerSlam with fans in attendance? Lesnar is there just to simply add star power. He doesn't give a shit as long as you're paying him. He don't care. We could be looking at that because Roman and Rey moving over to SmackDown doesn't make any sense. Something's planned. We don't know what it is. But I don't think WWE is saving Lesnar for next year's SummerSlam. We got a half a fucking year. A whole year to go before WrestleMania. We got a half a year still left to go now. You're not going to use Lesnar? I highly, highly doubt that. So Meltzer is saying there's a lot of rumors about the return of Lesnar. No deal imminent for him to return. He could be used in Saudi Arabia. SummerSlam would make the most sense. But nothing has been agreed upon, nor is it expected at this point. Like I said last week, folks, the only people that know anything regarding Lesnar and where he's going to be, where he's going to show up, what he's going to do, is Lesnar, Heyman, and Vince McMahon. And that circle is like Fort Knox. You ain't getting a peep out of any of those guys regarding Lesnar. So you may believe that Meltzer knows the information on Lesnar, but I'm here to tell you that nobody knows the information on Lesnar but those three men. And you ain't going to get a fucking single peep out of any one of them regarding Brock Lesnar. Take that, take what I said here, and mull on it, mull it over, because I think we could be looking at a triple threat match for the WWE title with McIntyre not winning it at Hell in a Cell, but we could be looking at him winning the championship in front of fans with Lesnar included, just to make that match a little bit more bigger. And then you get Lashley and Lesnar at the same time. Several WWE stars have asked to forego their non-compete clauses. In April, the likes of Chelsea Green, Mickie James were let go. Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy, Santana Garrett, the Iconics, several others have all been let go by WWE. Fightful Select is reporting that multiple talents have been recently released and have asked WWE if they can forego their non-compete clauses, which are anywhere ranging from the entire duration down to a few days before their scheduled non-compete ends. These clauses are usually for 90 days, although NXT wrestlers are the ones who have it easy. They got 30 days non-compete. It was said that WWE is receptive to this with people power, John Laurinaitis, laryngitis, people power, being the point of contact for wrestlers to go to get this approved. There's no word yet on if wrestlers will still be paid for that period in the case of a few days, that if they forego their non-competes. But it was noted that WWE's been more lenient than ever about the inquiries regarding non-competes. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, they've been very lenient, right? When has WWE been lenient on anything? You got a new edict every fucking week. You got new rules every week. You got Joe being released only to be brought back. Now there's rumors about Black being released and how they got no plans for him. And now it's the talk of the town. Now you want to bring him back in WWE because you don't want him to go anywhere else. Why the fuck did you release them then? Does nobody know what's going on backstage? How could you work backstage and then say, yeah, let's release Aleister Black? What are you, fucking stupid? The left hand doesn't know what the right hand and vice versa is doing. It's a fucking shit show in WWE. Will they have their non-competes foregoed? I don't know. Who cares? By the time you're listening to this, everybody may be on track to land somewhere. They may already have negotiations finished up. They already may have a new home and a new destination. Who cares? Who cares? There's no rush for anything. I know everybody wants to get back into work, but sometimes the 30 days and the 90 days is very beneficial to you to sit home, rest, contemplate what your next move is going to do, recharge the batteries. It's not that big of a deal. I do think it's ridiculous that if WWE just up and wants to release you one day, that you got to wait fucking 90 days, but that's what WWE does. Use the 90 days. Don't immediately rush into something else. If everybody is waiting for you on the first day you were released, they'll be there on the 90th day, on the 91st day. Don't worry about it. But is WWE going to be lenient? They're open more than ever before to be doing these things for their superstars. Yeah, sure. That's the part I find most hilarious. No, they don't. They're not open. They're not lenient. They don't care. Speaking of which, I talked about that. They're more lenient, right? Vanessa Borne was one of the women released by WWE. She was on NXT. They paired her with Aaliyah. They were very bougie, if you guys remember that. She really wasn't good. She was coming along. She was still green. Very beautiful woman. And then she got called up to the main roster because, let me rephrase that. She got called up to the main roster. Nobody knew. You and I didn't know. I knew because I'm ingrained in all this stuff. The casual fan might not know who she is. The casual fan might not know that she was called up to the main roster. But Paul Heyman was a very big fan of Vanessa Bourne, okay? She was on Monday Night Raw. They didn't know what to do with her. When Paul Heyman got fired as the executive director of Monday Night Raw, all the plans for everybody that he wanted to push went right out the window. Bruce literally took the script and ripped it up. All the plans ripped up by Bruce Pritchard, okay? She was released. She actually spoke to PW Insider about what led to her eventually being released. And if you don't think that everybody there that is not featured as a major star, that is struggling for an opportunity, if you don't think what I'm about to read to you is happening there still, if you don't think that WWE manipulates, they might not be blatant with it, but it's very apparent that the mentality in WWE is a brainwashing, manipulative environment. This is terrible, what I'm about to read to you. Listen to this. She spoke to PW Insider. I'm assuming Mike Johnson of PW Insider. She claimed that she voiced her concern about the real violence that Retribution was mirroring when they were brought into the Performance Center on that night, where they took the pliers, the big scissors, or the chainsaw rather, and cut the ring ropes, graffiti everywhere, the Molotovs into the sound system, throwing bricks through the glass doors of the Performance Center. Foolish, right? She voiced concern that it was mirroring real violence that the United States and the world was seeing in that moment that WWE decided to debut Retribution. Then she was taken off the main roster and sent back to NXT when she voiced her concerns. She claims that this was something that Mark Carrano, who was fired over the Mickie James trash bag incident, but let's be real, it was somebody else that put Mark Carrano in that situation to get him fired, but it was somebody else that made the decision for him to go and do that and tell her and send that shit to her. He was nothing more than a scapegoat. Mark Carrano, when he was there as the head of talent relations, informed her that she would be sent down after she expressed these concerns. She says this, and I quote, "After that, I was called in and they had a pitch where I was a part of Retribution. I was excited about being on TV for something, but I had a lot of questions. I wanted to know what the group was about and how I fit in." It's a very simple, logical concern, for one. Okay, where do I fit in? And I want to know what they're about before I give my okay and what I've worked for to be included here. Very simple, right? I had some concerns because during this time, there was stuff around the country with violence, and we're watching this unfold, and it's not pretty. I wanted to know if the group was mimicking that. I expressed those concerns, but ultimately, which, by the way, they were. And if WWE tells you otherwise, they're blatantly lying. And I found it funny during that time. Oh, watch our shows in the middle of the pandemic because we want you to watch and enjoy from the comfort of your own home and escape all that's happening outside of the WWE bubble. Sure. So you bring whatever's happening on TV to the WWE Performance Center and try to mimic what's happening in the real world, which threw people off, all while you are attempting to be desperate to generate some sort of interest for a clearly and obviously dying product. Oh, look, we're being risque. Oh, look, who are these masked men? What do they want? That's all it was, a pathetic attempt at being risque to generate interest and ratings for an obviously dying product. Stuff around the country with violence, we're watching this unfold. I wanted to know if the group was mimicking that. I expressed those concerns, but ultimately I wanted to do what I was told and tried to figure out how I can help. Within the week, I got a call from Mark Carrano saying, and I quote, "We're not going to have you as a part of Retribution, and we're going to pull your contract. You're getting sent back down to NXT." It's great. She got sent back down to NXT, and she was spared failure on the main roster. And she was spared being a part of probably the worst idea in the last fucking decade on WWE television. Where's the group now? They didn't last 6 months because WWE clearly didn't give a shit. And you were being sent back down to NXT. Anything to escape the doldrums of Monday Night Raw. She went on, and I quote, "It felt like I got kicked in the gut. I would never want them to think that I didn't think an idea wasn't good or that I didn't want to participate. That's the problem. That's the problem. I would never want them to think that I didn't think an idea wasn't good or that I didn't want to participate. The thing is, we need more people to tell them that this idea is not a good idea, that it's not going to work. And if it's like this and you don't feel that you're going to be a good fit, or if it's not good, then you should tell them that you don't want them to participate. That you don't want to participate. That's the mentality that WWE bestows upon all of their performers. That's what we need for these people to do. The people in charge, they're not right. They're barely right. On the monetary side of things, they're right. On the creative side of things, they're a fucking embarrassment. Tell them that it sucks. Tell them that you don't want to do it. Tell them that you don't think you belong. But this is what happens. When you don't have somebody like an Orton or Cena or Reigns sticking up for shit that creative does that sucks, and you're a small fry, and then you tell them that it sucks and that you don't want to participate, it's not good, what do you think's going to happen? You're either going to be sent down, which is not to be looked at as a bad thing, or worse yet, fired. That's what happens when everybody wants to cower in a corner and the elites are very pleased with what's going on with them and they don't care about everybody else. The Ortons, the Styles, the Reigns, the Cenas, the Rollins, all those guys, right? They're all doing their own thing and they don't care what happens below them as long as they're taken care of. But when somebody like Vanessa Bourne wants to speak up, then you see what ultimately happens. I would do anything and had done everything to that point. After we talked, I sent him a text that said, I'm so sorry if I came across not wanting to be a part of anything. I'm here to work. I'm willing to do whatever. He just said, this is where we are at. I still think back and I kick myself and I think I should have sat there, nodded, and been happy. This poor woman is feeling guilt because she spoke with her heart and she told them that it sucks and she don't want to be a part of it because of it mirroring the real life shit that's still going on now in the United States, in the world. She didn't want to be a part of it. She didn't fit in. She didn't think she would fit in with what she was doing in NXT. She now feels overwhelming guilt because they made her feel that way, and they sent her back down for simply speaking her mind. Now Mark Carrano's not there. The group is fucking dead and off WWE television, and they let this poor woman go for speaking up about something that inevitably was a complete failure. Fuck this company. This shit pisses me off. Because I know I would have spoken up about something and said, listen, this is not right. And then if you speak up, then you're punished. You can't say anything bad. We gotta give you what we gotta give you. You're gonna eat it. If it tastes like shit, don't complain. Nobody's gonna listen to you. Just do what you are told. What a fucked up mentality. The environment sounds like in WWE if you're somebody on the totem pole like Vanessa Bourne. I guarantee you if this was somebody else, they'd have no problem. All right, we'll rework plans for you and we'll come up with something else. Or we'll just drop the angle completely. What an awful, awful environment. I still think back, I kicked myself in the ass. I should have sat there, nodded, and been happy. I was happy. I might have just given the wrong impression. Lesson learned. Sometimes I tend to be blunt, and I don't know if that's what came across when it came to asking questions or having concerns. Maybe that isn't the reason, and it's something totally different. It just happened to fall in line with how everything went down. I put those two things together. I feel bad. After listening to that and reading that, I don't know how you guys don't feel bad for her. I feel terrible for what she had to go through because she simply spoke from her heart about something that she didn't feel was right. And WWE did not want to listen. CJ Perry, a.k.a. Lana, she says, yeah, she has a lot to say about WWE and Vince McMahon. This kind of follows exactly what Vanessa Bourne said with PW Insider. Perry said that her release was a really big shock for her, along with the news of the release of Ruby Riott, Aleister Black, and everybody else. I have a lot of tea to share with you guys. How do you guys feel about hot glasses of tea? I love hot tea. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notifications. I really can't wait to tell you guys a lot of stuff. She continued and said, I feel free, a little bit of freedom. The face of 1,000 decisions I never made. And I have to say, it's a little bit of freedom knowing that I can be the face that I want to be. I can stand up and speak for truth. I can stand up for things that when people are exploited, and a lot of things will be said. Pretty much is what she's saying. Subscribe to my YouTube on Monday. I'm releasing quite a bit, so stay tuned. I cannot wait. I love you guys, of course. There are hard times. I have a lot of unsettled business. I don't want to give up what I love so much. I love wrestling. I really love it. I've cried a lot about it. I don't want any person to determine my destiny. Not a billionaire, not Vince McMahon, not anyone. I'm very thankful for the opportunities, but man, no one is going to determine my destiny. I could keep on going and going because you guys know I love talking, which I haven't been doing a lot because WWE has not been giving me a microphone. But you know, thankfully, I've been able to go out there and wrestle for a year. So she's going to spill the tea, apparently, on Monday when it comes to why she was released and all of the creative indecisions and why things were so terrible backstage in WWE. Is she going to have any juicy details? I don't know. But I'm assuming that there will be a lot of bullshit because she was right there in the middle of all of it. Lashley and the wedding and lesbian angles with Liv Morgan. I'm assuming that she's going to have a lot, but I don't know how much detail CJ Perry is actually going to get into, being that she's still in a 90-day non-compete clause, which means she is still contractually obligated to WWE's terms. So we don't know. So we'll see what happens with that, but I wanted to throw that in there just so that you guys know exactly what is happening. I feel bad for Vanessa Bourne, man, still. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Lana, what happens, what she says, and where she ultimately ends up, which a lot of people are assuming she's going to end up with her husband on AEW Dynamite. Speaking of Dynamite, AEW is headed to New York City, Queens. Arthur Ashe Stadium. All Elite Wrestling is slated to resume live event touring on July 7th. And just announced this week, Tony Khan made an appearance on WFAN Sports Radio here in New York to announce that an upcoming Dynamite episode will be held in New York City at Arthur Ashe Stadium on September 22nd. Tickets go on sale, I believe, July 16th. I could be off with that, but they go on sale mid-July. Should be noted that this is a tennis stadium that houses the U.S. Open every single year. The venue seats 23,000 people. It will be interesting to see how many tickets AEW sells, how many they put on sale, number one, how many they sell, and what the seating configuration will be that stadium is actually able to hold. With a wrestling ring, a stage, and all that comes with the pro wrestling show. AEW usually runs no more than 10,000 seats. Will they be able to sell 15, 16, 17,000 seats in New York City after All Out? It's going to be very interesting. Seen a lot of people online blasting this. Don't know why. There's just a certain agenda against AEW. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if these people are mentally stable to live amongst humanity. I don't know. In my eyes, they are a bunch of inept fucking idiots. I don't know. I don't know how they've made it through life up until this point. Really. It boggles my mind. A lot of these geeks, these AEW haters, it's not Madison Square Garden. L for AEW. I'm sorry. When was the last time WWE ran Madison Square Garden? They made the Barclays Center their new home in New York City. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe the price to run a fucking show in Madison Square Garden is not worth it to WWE. The good old WWE that's worth $8 billion, right? WWE won't even run Madison Square Garden. Also, geek, WWE calls home in New York City. They're a New York-based company. This is Vince McMahon's town. Don't you think that Vince McMahon, if AEW was sniffing Madison Square Garden, don't you think Vince McMahon and all his resources would shut that shit down quicker than you could fucking blink? So please again tell me how this is AEW taking an L because they're working Arthur Ashe Stadium. Or are you just salty because AEW found just enough in New York City to potentially put on a bigger show than WWE in their hometown? This stadium holds more people than the Barclays Center. Are you jealous? Are you salty? Are you upset over something that should not be causing you to lose sleep at night? I'm sorry the WWE product sucks. Why can't we just be excited about AEW coming to New York City? I don't get it. People are mental. Tony Khan and AEW, this is a huge win for them. Located right outside Citi Field, Arthur Ashe Stadium. It's going to be a big deal. This show is going to be called Grand Slam. AEW Grand Slam. This is probably going to be one of their biggest shows ever. Something major's going down in New York City. I don't know what it is yet, but I know I'll be there. I know I'll probably be doing the meet and greet, probably with Big Hodge. It's going to be awesome. For all the people out there that are hating AEW for whatever reason, let's try and be excited because this is exactly what they promised. An alternative to the dying creative of WWE. This is a major W for them. And a potential partnership that could be a future home like Barclays is to WWE for AEW inside Arthur Ashe Stadium. And Arthur Ashe Stadium has wanted to do events like this. Maybe WWE wasn't interested. They put a retractable roof or a roof at least on the fucking stadium so that they may house events like this. This was an open air stadium. There was no roof on this. They put a fucking roof over it because they want to explore other options besides tennis. Tony Khan must be a master negotiator because this is a huge W for AEW. The New York Post picked up on this, and obviously everybody was still hating. The New York Post, or the Daily News rather, was it the Daily News or the Daily News? I'm sorry, one and the same. Who gives a fuck? New York publication, Daily News. They ran a big feature article about AEW's move into Arthur Ashe Stadium. The headline was very bold, and they proclaimed this, and I quote, "Wham bam, look out, McMahon." This was not lost in many people's eyes when they seen this, especially those who are aware that the New York area, the tri-state area, is known in the industry as the McMahon country. Britt Baker tweeted out the article of the New York Daily News, which features herself curb stomping Hikaru Shida onto the AEW's women's title. All she had to say was, "Peep the New York Daily News today," while including an emoji with sunglasses and a smile. AEW is going to bring in a huge show to New York for their first event. Dynamite Grand Slam tickets are going to fly out of the box office, but it will also be interesting to keep track of how many end up, obviously, going and then how many end up on the secondary market. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be a big night for AEW, man. They got to show up and impress. I think fans in this city have been fiending for a wrestling show. We didn't get any AEW shows in New Jersey because of the pandemic. I believe they were going to go to Rochester, New York, which should have been Brody Lee's debut before the pandemic. Fans have been away too long, man. And AEW is going to be right in the center of town. And I might add that this is a lot easier of travel. You can get on the 7 train, you can get on the LIE, I believe, and just take a less than 10-minute train ride over there. If you want to take a car, the traffic over here is not that bad. It's terrible at certain points in the day, like all New York traffic is, but it's not that bad if you guys want to park. Citi Field is one of the more accommodating stadiums to find parking and get to easily accessible via train or car. So this is a win-win for AEW. Win-win for AEW. And you know Vince McMahon has that headline plastered in his office somewhere. AEW is just the cooler promotion. What do you want me to tell you? They're just the cooler promotion. And I mean this as a wrestling savant. I don't mean this for any reason. I'm not a AEW shill or a WWE shill. You guys know me better than that, but they're just the cooler promotion. They give off those old NXT vibes to me. They're not as good as the old NXT was, but they give off that cool vibe. They're doing things different. They're not playing by anybody's rules. Meanwhile, WWE's playing by the rules of a 74-year-old senile fuck in Vince McMahon. That's why people think they're the cooler promotion. Can't wait, man. I can't wait to see what happens. WWE. This is the major story. This is the big story for the afternoon. WWE is making plans to improve quality of their TV shows by the end of 2021. Now, we all know that the ratings for Monday night and Friday night, they're in a huge decline. And people want to continue making excuses. Oh, it's the holidays, or it's sporting events, or something on TV, whatever it may be. People never point to the issue. And the issue is terrible, terrible writing. The creative sucks. Outside of SummerSlam, WWE live event ticket sales have been awful. AEW is beating them in most major markets. Why? Because the ratings matter. Why? Because creative matters. Why? Because if it sucks, people are not going to spend their hard-earned money on seeing something live when they don't care to watch it at home. Simple. I don't need to hear your fucking excuses, okay? That is just the fact of the matter. WWE is in a rating slump right now because people realize the show fucking sucks. There's nothing about Raw and SmackDown besides Roman Reigns that is engaging enough for you to make Raw appointment television. It's not. This is what happens when you constantly bury 90% of your roster. This is what happens when you don't give storylines that transcend over weeks of television. You give nobody a reason to watch. You don't hype shows coming up in the weeks to come. You don't really have anything going on Raw, but rematch after rematch after rematch. How many people do you expect to watch a fucking rematch between Baron Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura that happened 5 weeks in a row? Over what? A crown that Corbin had stolen from him? McIntyre and Lashley, the tag team depletion on both shows, the horrendous women's division on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, it's not difficult to see why people aren't watching. Says the fucking smart person. Yet the shills out there, they want to avoid the excuses, they want to avoid the truth, and they want to pretend everything is good. They want to pretend everything is sunshine and rainbows and sunflowers and butterflies and skipping through the fucking open field of daisies. Go fuck yourself, you fucking unintelligent cretin that hides behind a fucking profile picture of a pro wrestler because you're so fucking hideous that you can't show the world who you are. Andrew Zarian of the Madman podcast. He tweeted out a very hopeful message. While it is too early to reveal specifics at this time, WWE is making plans to improve the quality of their programming as they have a few exciting things in the pipeline. He says, and I quote, "Hearing about a lot of exciting stuff on the WWE side of pro wrestling. Too early to post anything, but honestly, I am very hopeful we will see a quality turnaround by the end of the year," end quote. Now, what exactly does that mean? Is WWE going to start booking these shows the way that they need to be booked? creative storylines, engaging storylines? Or does this mean, hey, we're putting all of our eggs in one basket. We're not going to push any of the new talent. We're not going to make any new stars. We're going to put all of our hope into John Cena and all of our hope into Edge and all of our hope into Roman Reigns and all of our hope into Brock Lesnar. And maybe a Bill Goldberg. God, I hope not. This is WWE pretty much saying, yeah, we're going to have a better quality of programming on Monday night, but it's not going to be with who you see on the show every week. We're going to have more access to legends. It's going to be all hands on deck type mentality, which I don't know how many segments you expect Brock Lesnar to have on a Monday night or an Edge to have on. You're talking about one segment, 2 segments tops out of a 16-segment show. What about the rest of the fucking 2.5 hours? That's what they mean. That's what WWE's mentality is. Let's put all of our hopes into the returning legends. Let's bring back Shawn Michaels. Let's bring back Triple H. Instead of calling up people from NXT and embracing it, building new stars, creating storylines, making a top-notch main event scene, worrying about building your women's and tag team divisions and doing what is right, merging the divisions, taking the draft and making it serious. Exciting stuff. I want to believe Andrew because he's been on point about everything, and I really do believe him in this case. But what I think WWE means by this is nothing with who you want to be pushed. They're going to roll out the legends and expect all of the fans to just come watching all over again, come back after they gone away because all these big names are now back on WWE television. We have live fans back in attendance. That's all that means. So according to Andrew, the end of 2021 will look very different for WWE. I don't know what they have planned, but so far in this year alone, coupled with last year, these are the dark times of WWE that I would love to erase from my memory. Awful. The last 3 years have been absolutely fucking atrocious. It has been dehumanizing to watch this product deteriorate year after year after year. It makes me hate pro wrestling. King of the Ring is one of the things that WWE is thinking about. Quality of programming means a potential return of the King of the Ring tournament. A WWE producer has teased the return of the King of the Ring following SmackDown segments highlighting the crown of King Corbin. Corbin received his coronation after he won the 2019 King of the Ring. And in recent weeks, Shinsuke Nakamura, Xavier Woods, and other stars have voiced their desire to win Corbin's crown. On the bump, WWE The Bump, Corbin compared the jewels in his crown to championship gold. He says, and I quote, "I think everyone has their eye on it, just like they do with a championship title. They want an opportunity, a chance, and they want to earn it. That's what the crown does to people. Then you have people who are cowards, like Shinsuke, who want to steal it. At least Xavier wants to earn an opportunity to wear the crown. It's important to him and his career. I'm happy to make it a disappointment and regret this in his long career, that it came up short in something he really wanted. A tournament is what's necessary to wear the crown. If you want a shot, talk to somebody, cry to people, and get it set up. Xavier Woods, I would love to face him in the tournament. His dream will be cut short, but I'm happy to do it and defend it in the right circumstances." End quote. Adam Pearce retweeted a clip of this particular interview with Baron Corbin on the bump, stating that he has had talks with Corbin regarding the crown, telling fans to stay tuned. Pearce tweeted this, and I quote, "I know that I have had many conversations with Baron Corbin on this very topic. Stay tuned." Now, the last tournament took place in 2019. The last time we saw it before that was 2015. And that was won by current NXT color commentator, Bad News Barrett, Wade Barrett, Stu Bennett. Now, I don't know why it took them this long to contemplate another King of the Ring. This should be a yearly thing without any hesitation. I know, and I've heard it from reputable people. I've heard it personally from people that I know that are ingrained in the news and rumors part of the IWC. Vince McMahon hates tournaments. For whatever reason, Vince McMahon hates tournaments. I, for one, love tournaments. The Cruiserweight Classic was phenomenal. The Mae Young Classic was great. King of the Ring 93 is my favorite pay-per-view of all time. I love the one-night tournament concept. I know that will never return. I know it won't. But I have offered many different scenarios to help WWE's dying creative product. And I truly believe what I have discussed for years will be the right thing to do to bring importance, to bring watchability, to bring intrigue on a weekly basis to the WWE programs that happen on Monday and Friday night. I mean this wholeheartedly. Now, I'm going to save that. Most of you OGs know what I'm going to say. Most of you old-timers are knowing what I'm going to say. But I want to continue on because all of this leads into where WWE's mentality is. Plans are being thrown at the wall right now. Quality of WWE programming, according to Andrew Zarian, is changing, and all these plans are part of it. Raw Roulette, likely returning this year, plus another themed show is being considered. Now, Andrew Zarian, again, of the Matt Man podcast, confirmed a report from WrestleVotes about WWE doing more theme shows this year. Zarian confirmed, we just talked about, King of the Ring is being discussed. And Raw Roulette is more than likely to happen with King of the Ring this year. Now that WWE has fans back at shows, Vince McMahon wants to do everything possible to get the ratings back up to where they were before the pandemic. Vince McMahon's new edict is that everything must have a story behind it, so there will be no more cold matches on television. I don't know how likely that is. I don't know if that's a serious thing. Why all of a sudden now is everything must have a story behind it, everything must have meaning, there's no more cold matches on television. This explains why there was a retirement match stipulation on Raw for Jeff Hardy's match. That's still a cold match. That wasn't a story. That wasn't planned. It happened then, in that moment. That's what you call a cold match. Hardy just had a match, and then he goes right into another match with Cedric Alexander, back to back. I don't know how that is story behind it, but according to Vince, in his fucking mentality, that is not a cold match. Sure it ain't. Adam Pearce teased on Twitter about the King of the Ring tournament coming back. Raw Roulette. It was a concept that started in 2002 and has been done 6 times on Raw. The last time they did a Raw Roulette theme show was in 2013. The concept is similar to WCW's Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal, which NXT used at Halloween Havoc this past October. That was in WCW back in the early 90s. Basically, there are stipulations listed on a wheel, and those stips are assigned to matches on the show. It's fine. It's a gimmick show, whatever the case may be. I don't really know what WWE's thinking about in terms of a Raw Roulette. Hopefully there are things planned ahead of time where the stories and the matches that are happening in that current time when WWE wants to roll that out, all of those gimmicks and stipulations are very pertinent to whatever's going on right now with the stories that may unfold on that show. It can't happen with random matches. You can't just put a gimmick show on and not have it lead into anything or have nothing lead into it. It's got to be important. It's fine, but as long as it means something. NXT made it mean something. Halloween Havoc was one of the best shows that they produced all year in the middle of a pandemic. They made the spin the deal, make the deal, spin the wheel, whatever. Spin the wheel, make the deal. They made that concept work because it flowed into everything that was going on currently in that time frame on NXT television. According to Fightful, NBC has pitched sports tie-ins, including NASCAR which would include a major race that integrates race cars and star drivers. There's also been pitches related to the NFL and the start of Sunday Night Football, which would include football-themed matches and angles, and NFL personnel appearing on Monday and Friday night. That sounds fucking awful. The one thing that we do not need is NBC and Fox getting involved. They don't know jack shit about what the product needs. This needs to remain wrestling-centric. I don't want NFL. I don't want NBA. I don't want fucking MLB. I don't want fucking NASCAR. I don't want horse racing. I don't want any of these things integrated into my shows. A little fucking advertisement at the bottom of the screen with Michael Cole saying, Bills versus Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, live, 8 p.m. on Fox. That's all I can. That's all I'll accept. That's all I'll really take as far as the television networks getting involved. Do you really believe NBC Universal and Fox are going to have good ideas to make the show better? I think that sounds genuinely fucking terrible. You got to do what is best for the wrestling aspect of the company. The reason people aren't watching is because your show has deviated the fan away from the product because of shit creative and every other fucking reason that has nothing to do with pro wrestling. You're bringing in MMA, you're trying MMA influence, you're bringing in Fox, you're bringing in NBC, you're bringing in all these other networks, you're bringing in these sports people. At that point, you ain't driving the current people, the casual people, to watch the show. You're trying desperately to get a new fan and hope that they stick. Meanwhile, they'll check it out for a half an hour and then they won't be back. Stop with the desperate attempts. All you have to do is fix what is wrong with the show. I've said this multiple times. The show is too polished. Raw and SmackDown look too polished. When you overly polish something again and again and again, it loses its appeal. I am not the only one that stated this. Bischoff has stated it. Conrad Thompson has stated it. Everybody in the fucking industry has stated it. Raw looks too polished. NXT has a vibe. Now, I'm not saying that I love NXT like I used to, but I always admired the look of NXT. I love the grittiness, the dirtiness of NXT. Meanwhile, they keep that WWE shine. They have WWE-like production, but they always make it look gritty, raw, underground. That's what pro wrestling should be. I don't want to watch Monday Night Raw and feel like I'm watching a fucking Broadway play with lights and spectacle and all this glitz and glamour. It's pro wrestling. I want to see men and women competing in competitive matches that mean something on the night I'm watching and that carry over into the next week. I want my television to be truly episodic. I want to watch something and I want something to give me a reason to tune in next week. I don't want to sit on my fucking couch every Monday night dreading Monday Night Raw, saying to myself, I hate my fucking life, I hate my show that I gotta watch on Monday night while I down 3 cups of coffee to simply stay awake. There's a problem. There's a problem. The commentary is also another problem. 2-man booths is all we need. We don't need Byron Saxton with his cheesy fucking commentary. We don't need Jimmy Smith and Adnan Virk on commentary. We need somebody that's going to get the job done. Jimmy Smith may be doing a good job, but is he going to last? Is he going to last? You need somebody that embodies what Morrow has. I'm not saying go out and get Morrow because God bless his soul if he wants anything to do with this fucking company again. You need a good core commentary team. They're getting new stages. Fine. You're getting new stages for Monday night and Friday night. Fine. But that goes in line with the glitz and glam and the spotlight that WWE is more than likely going to overcompensate you with. Not needed. You need an actual roster that's going to be engaging enough to draw the viewer in on a weekly basis. You need a Monday Night Raw show that's not 3 hours. Now, I know I'm speaking to a wall on that, but it needs to be. Monday Night Raw at 2 hours would be a lot better than Monday Night Raw at 3 hours. We're going on 10 years of Monday Night Raw at 3 hours. Do you know that it's 10 years of our lives that we can't get back on a Monday night? Somebody calculate how many hours that is for 10 years, 52 weeks a year. 2 hour Monday Night Raws. I've already mentioned this. You're holding a draft. Monday Night SmackDown have the draft coming up after SummerSlam. The draft needs to include NXT. The draft needs to be a big sports blown out production. You can't just have fucking angles that are happening on the show bleed into the draft. You can't have the day of the draft Monday Night Raw guys getting drafted to SmackDown, yet they're competing on Monday Night Raw. You can't do that. You can't do it. Worry about the draft. Make it a big deal. Draft somebody to Raw. Show the locker room waiting where their fucking careers are going to take place the next year. Get interviews with them and don't script it. Let them give you how they're genuinely feeling. Is that so difficult? Include NXT in it. Include NXT and make trades. Trade a Ricochet down to NXT and bring up Adam Cole in the trade. Or trade Ricochet and Ali for an Adam Cole and a Bobby Fish. Or those are just a little example. Little examples of what I do. I don't believe that this is so difficult. Have your shows mean something. Have your pay-per-view. I've spoke about this. Have your pay-per-views mean something. Like, what are we doing with the pay-per-views? How many of these pay-per-views simply exist? How many of these pay-per-views simply exist and none of them mean jack shit? Seriously. I don't understand this. We talked about this year after year after year. It all starts with WrestleMania. It all starts with WrestleMania. Then you move into the King of the Ring, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The King of the Ring should be a bridge between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. The winner of the King of the Ring would get a title opportunity for the brand that he is on at SummerSlam. Then you go into the Survivor Series. The Survivor Series could be a very integral part in what happens going into the Royal Rumble. It's a very simple concept. You want to have qualifying matches for who ends up on the Survivor Series team? Fine. Have qualifying matches. Make it mean something. But don't give them a Survivor Series match against the other brand and then give them nothing to fight over. If you're going to have qualifying matches for the Survivor Series, then those guys are obviously fighting for something more than brand supremacy. Who gives a fuck about brand supremacy when you got management that don't give a fuck about brand supremacy? That don't give a fuck about the draft? Have those 5 guys win. If Monday Night Raw wins or if SmackDown wins, have those 5 men and women, because the women are going to be doing the same thing. Have those 5 men and women go to a TLC pay-per-view the very next month and have them compete for a WWE Championship match at the Royal Rumble. Simple. That means you bleed SummerSlam into Survivor Series into TLC, then we get to the Royal Rumble. Normally, we are all excited about who's going to be the Final 4 in the Royal Rumble. You could do one of 2 things. You could take the Final 4 in the Royal Rumble. Take the Final 4, whoever has lasted up until the Final 4, you take those guys and you put them in the Elimination Chamber in February. They've already got their spots in the Elimination Chamber. You were good enough to last in the Royal Rumble till the Final 4. Then you get an opportunity in the Elimination Chamber. Now, clearly, if one of those 4 guys wins the Royal Rumble, then his spot is open. Then you got 3. Then you can have qualifying matches for the other 3 spots. Same thing with the women. Or if you want to go about it in a completely different way, there's 6 spots in the chamber and the final 6 guys in the Royal Rumble. Get the 6 spots in the Elimination Chamber. Or if you want to go about it completely out of left field, you take the final 12 guys in the Royal Rumble, and then you make matches with those 12 guys, which would mean you got 6 qualifying matches, and then you take the 6 winners from those 12 and put them in the Elimination Chamber. It's not tough. It's not difficult to make things feel important. You do the same thing with the women. Then you get to WrestleMania and you do the whole fucking thing, the whole shebang all over again. Why am I sitting here and I have nothing here? I have no paper. I have no iPad. I have nothing. I have nothing but on my computer right here. Raw Roulette likely to return this year. Another theme show being considered. And then bullet points of what I want to talk about. This is all off the top of my head. So one thing remains. I'm a fucking genius. I'm a genius. Why am I sitting here booking your entire fucking pay-per-view calendar with importance on all major key events in your calendar year, and you can't do that? Why? Is it so difficult to come up with these ideas? Or am I just a fucking genius? Now we got the King of the Ring. By the way, that is just a little bit of how I would change the complexion of Monday night and Friday night. 2 hours is a key. Merging the divisions is a key. Tag team divisions need to be merged. Women's divisions need to be merged. The draft should only include NXT being involved, Raw and SmackDown main event, and mid-card scenes. That's it. That's it. Other than that, you don't have enough tag teams to have a fucking draft. You don't have enough women on the main roster to have a fucking draft. All the draft is going to do is switch things around to equal the same number that we're at right now. So you're getting the same show with different faces, the same number of people on the rosters, which means rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch, week after week after week after week, before it is all said and done. King of the Ring. I've expressed this for 5 years now. King of the Ring should be yearly. Absolutely no exceptions to the rule. None. The King of the Ring should be an integral part of your programming. Not only for what it means to SummerSlam, but what it means to your television shows on Monday and Friday night. WWE is wrestling with the idea of including a Wrestling World Cup event with talent across all 3 brands, Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, that would be taking place over a month. Another idea with this World Wrestling Cup is that the networks, NBC in particular, has pitched that this tournament take place with a points system, with wrestlers earning points by winning matches, performing signature moves, and other things of that nature. Now, I'll get to that in a second. I love a point system for a tournament, but moves, signature moves, whatever the case may be, I'm not for that at all. I think that's overly ridiculous. According to Fightful Select, there's an idea that WWE has with this World Cup tournament. The idea likely wouldn't have anything to do with soccer, but it would borrow that famous tournament's name. That could still be a very interesting idea with all brands involved. This is self-explanatory in what this means, and it would include, they even said and reported, NXT as well into the Raw and SmackDown plans. First of all, I've expressed this again. I have to reiterate this for the last 5 years. King of the Ring should be number 1 a priority every year. It means a character's career. It means main event for SummerSlam, and it gives importance to your shows. A tournament concept is something that builds long-term creative. A tournament concept builds character development and brings a character from being a relatively nobody, unknown, to a potential somebody in the eyes of people who watch him and win, because it is important that he wins. And when someone sees someone win, then they may believe in that person after the tournament is over. This is self-explanatory. Now, as far as the King of the Ring tournament, WWE used to do a one-night tournament on pay-per-view. We're over that concept. I highly doubt Vince is ever going to go for a one-night tournament. We've seen WWE do King of the Ring pay-per-views with the semifinals and the finals taking place on the show. No. If I'm not getting all of it, then doing half of it, I don't care for it. It's either all or none. You can't give me some and not give me the rest. That's not going to work either. That's lame. That's half-assing it. WWE, at some points, they just did the finals. When they were getting bored of the concept, they just gave you the finals. Not really the King of the Ring tournament. Not really the King of the Ring tournament if there's one fucking match for the tournament. WWE brought it back in 2005. Right? I don't remember that. That was a time and day and age that I don't even think it was on television. I don't even think it was on television. Was it? It was like an internet thing. Then they brought it back in 2019. That's when they really gave you a King of the Ring tournament. They did 16 men. And they played it out over weeks of television. And it was a great thing. We've seen great matches from Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Chad Gable, Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander. You name it, man. That was a great tournament. Baron Corbin had some of the best matches in his entire WWE career coming out of that tournament. That tournament made me look at Baron Corbin differently. And he had a great final with Chad Gable. Chad Gable was the underdog in that tournament. Chad Gable was a made man coming out of that tournament, but WWE, again, dropped the ball. Now we're talking about a points system. We're talking about a World Cup wrestling tournament. You don't need to name it a World Cup wrestling tournament that's centered around points and happens over a month. You already have the concept. It's called King of the Ring. You don't need to name it something that is, I would say, in association with Shane McMahon winning a fucking trophy in Saudi Arabia, calling himself the greatest pro wrestler in the world. That doesn't sit well with me. You already have a World Cup tournament with points being involved with a WWE theme around it. It's called King of the Ring. If you take the King of the Ring concept and you fix it up to make it look all pretty and make it look important, then that's what your World Cup tournament should be. You do Block A, you do Block B, you got 8 guys in Block A, you got 8 guys in Block B, and you run a gambit of matches mixed with these 8 guys over the course of a month. You have it happen on Raw. You have it happen on SmackDown. That means we may get a rematch thrown in there, but it depends on what the outcome is. One guy may have lost, and he may get his win back. One guy may have gotten counted out, but he may get his win back. It will give the shows importance. It will give people a reason to watch the show. People will come in to watch the show week after week after week to see the different combinations of matches. If one guy that is their favorite and he loses a match, they're going to come back and see how far he could come back. If one of their guys is on the bottom of the bracket and he's making a big push for momentum to move on up the rankings and get points and points and points and overtake the top guy, that's a great story to tell. That is a great story to tell. All you have to do is use the King of the Ring name. You don't need to give out points for signature moves and taunts and all this other shit. All you need to do is give out points for doing the one thing that should matter most on any wrestling program, in any professional sport. All you have to do is focus the importance on winning. That's it. Win a match, get points. Lose a match, I'm sorry, bro, you get nothing. You do that over the course of a month, and then you have one big Monday Night Raw or Friday night, depending on where you want the show to be. Maybe it happens on a pay-per-view. Maybe it happens on a pay-per-view before SummerSlam, and that is a big marquee match on the pay-per-view. The winner of the King of the Ring tournament will be crowned tonight, where competitor of Block A fights competitor of Block B. Very simple. And then the winner of that, whichever brand he comes out of, gets a championship match, whether it's Universal or WWE title at SummerSlam. You don't need to overcompensate things with signature moves and taunts and fucking this and that. Doesn't matter. Wins. That's it. All of this is great. I love this concept. Months I've been waiting, years I've been waiting for something like this to be integrated into WWE programming on weekly television. I want these shows to mean something. You should never have a week. I'm not saying every week needs to be big, but you should always strive to make your shows must-see. You should always strive to make your Monday night show appointment television. Why is tonight important? That's what you need. If you get into the doldrums that WWE Raw is in right now, nobody's going to watch. Why am I watching Drew McIntyre come out every fucking week and cry about a title shot that he somehow deserves against Bobby Lashley when we've seen the match 6 different fucking times already? That's what you call important? Or you're going to throw people that deserve an opportunity on my TV to fight for something important, to make them the next big star in WWE. Do you know what a King of the Ring tournament win under this month-long concept with points would mean for somebody's fucking career? You could take somebody like Ricochet, who has suffered for 3 years, and make him into King Ricochet. He would be a made man just based off winning that tournament. And I would include NXT, which I don't have the mindset to come up with ways to include NXT. But out of the 8 in Block A and 8 in Block B, maybe you get 2 and 2 in NXT in each block. 4 in total. How you want to go about that, getting those guys the opportunity to be in the tournament? That's something NXT is going to have to come up with. Maybe they have a battle royal. Maybe they have qualifying matches to get into the tournament. I don't know. Which is something WWE should do. You're not just going to pick random fucking people to put in Block A and Block B. Qualifying matches. You got enough talent. You got NXT. Use it. Use your resources. Have fun with it. Start creating. Start building. Start molding. Start making shows important. Like Andrew Zarian, I want to be hopeful. Does WWE want to be hopeful? Are they going to put these pieces in motion? All this confusion, all this neglect, all this sadness from the fans about the current WWE product. Is WWE going to do the right thing? I gave them gold, have been giving them gold on this very podcast for years. I may be a small fry in the eye of WWE, but that doesn't mean I don't know and I don't care. If any of what I talked about here is implemented in the current product on weekly television, I guarantee you that the shows would be better off for it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second half of the podcast. This is Off the Script, episode 381 for your Saturday, June 19th, 2021. I hope you've made it this far, man. A lot of good, a lot of substantial wrestling conversation, wrestling discussion so far, with more on the way. But first, I want to shout out my sponsor for today's show, man. Glad to have them on board. Sheathunderwear.com/script. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT at checkout to save 20% off your entire purchase. You know, one of the things that I've always wondered, man, I know you wore them as a young child because that's what your mother dressed you in. I know as you guys grew older, you transitioned into something a little bit more comfortable. But I always wondered, how does anybody wear basic, white, boring, plain, tighty-whitey underwear? I don't understand it. There's just too much snug going on there, man. Your world champions aren't going to be on any type of winning streak, if you know what I mean. Even the boxer briefs, there's too much constriction there. It's not comfortable. Now, one of the things I look forward to most when I'm shopping for something like this is how comfortable is it? Is the material going to be rubbing up against my world champions? Are they going to be comfortable? Again, there's that word, comfortable. Now, I got a pair here. We're going to unpackage this, and I'm going to show them off. I've had the opportunity to wear these things all week long, and I love it, man. First of all, right out of the package, you notice how comfortable they are. So you know it's nice and silky smooth against your world champions. Now, you might notice something different from the basic pair that you normally wear. They got a little pouch, a little compartment, a little throne where your world champions could sit upon. It legitimately, we just got done talking about the King of the Ring. Your world champions will be sitting upon their throne as if they are legitimately the King of the Ring of your world. Never mind WWE, man. Boxers that are designed to keep your balls off your legs. Sheath has 3 individual compartments to keep everything down there separate and cool. And again, that key word, man, comfortable. Traditional boxer briefs are barbaric, and they've been invented in the Neanderthal era, the Bruce Pritchard era. It's like Bruce invented those underwear, man. No wonder they are garbage, just like Raw. Sheath has a modern design intended to prevent skin-on-skin contact for long durations, which can build up heat and sweat. Sheath prevents all that. It is the holy grail of underwear. So pretty much what it is NXT from 3 years ago, 4 years ago. There is an inverted kangaroo pouch that I just showed you before for your family jewels to keep them from sticking to your thigh. Now, you will chafe and readjust less because everything is in a separate compartment, and because everything is separate, there is also less smell, too. Now, you don't want smelly balls, do you? I'm sure your wife, I'm sure your girlfriend, I'm sure your partner is not gonna appreciate smelly balls. Nobody wants that, man. Not even the best of the best want smelly balls. They were invented by a U.S. Army soldier who came up with this idea for Sheath during his second tour in Iraq, where it is hot as hell, man, and his boys needed to breathe. He invented these underwear to keep your boys cool and comfortable. Many, I would say, call him a hero. Now, I know you guys are going to enjoy them just as much as I do. I know your partners are going to enjoy them just as much as you will. All you guys have to do is click the link down below in the description of this very video, man. That is sheathunderwear.com/scripts. And then when you go to checkout and you're all done, enter code SCRIPT at checkout to save 20% off. That is a lot of money, man. So make sure you guys enter that code SCRIPT to save that 20% off. And I want to thank them for sponsoring today's podcast right here on Off the Script. All right, man, back to business. I'm done shilling the underwear for now, even though I always say I never promote anything on this show that I do not use. Keep that in mind, man. They're great stuff. SmackDown. Speaking of great stuff, Roman Reigns is great stuff. SmackDown, outside Roman Reigns, is not. SmackDown ratings for the 6/11 episode. The episode drew 1.853 million viewers. That is up from last Friday's episode that did 1.800 million viewers on Fox. That is according to TV Line and the TV series finale websites. I guess Showbuzz Daily is still down. It also pulled in an average of 0.40 in the 18 to 49. That is down significantly from the 0.50 that the show did in its previous week. They were also in the middle of the pack among the networks in viewership. There is no word yet on the hourly breakdown because Showbuzz Daily usually got all of that. I don't know what's going on with that website. All you guys need is the 18 to 49 and the overall viewership. That is all that really matters. The show featured the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford versus the Alpha Academy, Kevin Owens and Big E versus Apollo Crews and Sami Zayn. And that will pretty much be the same thing this week, only with Crews and Commander Aziz being tag team partners instead of using Sami Zayn. And the build between Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio, where Roman Reigns legitimately committed murder on Dominic Mysterio. So that was awesome. Other than that, it was a same old shit episode of SmackDown on Fox. Now, speaking of Roman Reigns, WWE decided to move Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio inside Hell in a Cell to Friday's SmackDown that happened yesterday. Now, I got to be, again, upfront with you guys. I don't know what's going on with SmackDown. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what's going on at Hell in a Cell. I don't know why they did this. One would think immediately, hey, they're looking to take AEW and some thunder away from AEW. But AEW's ratings are not good on Friday night, so they're not taking any thunder away from AEW. Can't use that excuse. AEW's got their own problems, and it's being preempted for the entire month of June. Hopefully they'll get back to normal, because that's a long time to be away from your home on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So it's not that. There's nothing to do with AEW. One would say that they're desperate for ratings because SmackDown has been trending lower and lower, and Fox is not happy. I think the last couple of weeks, probably the last 4 or 5 weeks, SmackDown's been below 2. They haven't been below 2 since moving to Fox, since the start of this partnership. So I don't know what's going on there. Again, people may be getting bored. It may be a desperate attempt at ratings on Friday night. But why would you jeopardize the only match on the entire show that has any intrigue at all and move it to Friday night? Now that gives you absolutely no reason to watch Sunday's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I don't know why they moved Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio, but Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer that there's no involved reason that made any sense as to why the date was changed, and he was told there were just a bunch of discussions on Thursday, and those discussions ended with, let's do it on SmackDown. That's what they did. So they moved Reigns and Mysterio and Hell in a Cell to Friday, which would make it the first ever Hell in a Cell match on SmackDown. And this move also made USA Network very unhappy, which I'll get into in a second. But the one thing that I said was it could be a ratings ploy to generate interest on a show that is dipping lower and lower in the ratings, or it could mean one of two things. Number one, Roman Reigns is either beginning or end. And they don't want Reigns on the same card to take the thunder away from something else bigger happening on that same night. Whether that big thing is Drew McIntyre winning the WWE Championship in the main event and having this big celebration, which is feasible, but there's no crowd. There's no crowd. Or, besides that, and McIntyre winning in the main event, because if Reigns was on the same card, he's not in the main event. I want you guys to be very well aware of that. If Roman Reigns is on the same card as Universal Champion as Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, that match is not closing the show. It's not. So it could be that, or WWE has something planned that's going to be bigger than everything here, and that everything is Brock Lesnar. That bigger thing is Brock Lesnar. Maybe he's going to cause a no contest, get inside the cage somehow, rip the door off of his hinges, and cause a no contest, which would play right into the factor of Drew McIntyre challenging Bobby Lashley for the title. If he loses, no more opportunities at the Almighty. This could be WWE giving McIntyre an out to get him another match at SummerSlam, get a triple threat match against Lashley and Lesnar, get Lesnar and Lashley in the same ring, and kill two birds with one stone. You get that match, and McIntyre gets his big title win in front of fans. Because they want to make SummerSlam the WrestleMania of 2021. Could be. But I don't have any legitimate reason. The reason I gave everybody on Twitter when this news broke was, if Roman Reigns was on the same card as Drew McIntyre, McIntyre winning the title's not main eventing. They don't want to diminish Drew McIntyre anymore. We'll find out what happens, man. Again, I'm recording this it's 5 o'clock now. We'll figure out what's going on. For all we know, WWE could do this match, give me a no contest, and give us another match on Sunday between Reigns and Mysterio, which would be fucking ridiculous. Nobody wants to see it twice. I don't think anybody wants to see it one time. Doesn't even make sense. The match and the feud's been built over a week and a half. So doing it twice doesn't make sense. It's happening on Friday. It's going to end on Friday. Something else is happening on Sunday. Like I mentioned before, USA Network is very unhappy about this Hell in a Cell match happening on SmackDown. It is pretty clear that SmackDown is the A show. USA Network knows it. WWE knows it. They treat SmackDown differently than they treat Raw. Clearly. Now, Andrew Zarian of the Batman podcast said USA Network is not happy about Fox getting this Hell in a Cell match. Zarian said, and I quote, "I can tell you for a fact that USA Network is very unhappy that Hell in a Cell is happening on SmackDown. I'm not going to say they are fuming, but they are very unhappy about it." WWE's got to do what is best for their show. Maybe they have plans that USA Network doesn't know of. I don't know. What if this leads to Brock Lesnar being back on Monday Night Raw? Is USA Network going to be fucking unhappy then? Your unhappiness now may turn to smiles across all the fucking suits and ties at USA Network. Why don't you see what happens? Then you could be upset on Monday if you don't get Lesnar. What are you unhappy about? There's nothing to be unhappy about. You're unhappy about this, but you're okay with Monday Night Raw sitting in its current fucking shit on Monday night? You're unhappy about what's going on SmackDown. You haven't been unhappy about how Raw's the worst show of all time? Give me a break. Tired of these networks picking and choosing on when they're unhappy. Open your fucking eyes and watch what's happening on Monday night. If you did, I don't know who the fuck would be happy. Roman Reigns. Apparently there's plans to turn Roman Reigns babyface. Vince McMahon sees him as a number one priority. Now, WrestlingNews.co has been reporting for months on long-term plans for Roman Reigns and his bloodline, his stable with the Usos. There are plans laid out for months in advance with a rough idea on plans for next year, including WrestleMania, which WWE wants Dwayne out there. Now, it's been reported that they want The Rock for Survivor Series in Barclays. They can't get him. WrestleMania is more than likely the destination for this match to happen. But WWE and The Rock probably are in conjunction. They want to get this match over and done with. Not because The Rock is busy, which he's always busy, but The Rock is going to be 50. Is Rock going to be in ring shape? Is The Rock going to be able to go and give us a match with Roman Reigns? He's in tip-top peak physical condition, The Rock. He is unbelievable. But that doesn't mean he's going to be ready in the ring. Two totally different things. He's been out of the ring for quite some time. I don't know how much training he's doing for an in-ring return. They want to get this done in a timely fashion because they know time is ticking on this situation. It is. Now, on Sunday's Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer discussed how similar the plans are for Kenny Omega and Roman Reigns. But with Omega, he is giving fans exciting TV matches every time. And with Reigns on SmackDown, he dominates everyone. This week, he basically destroyed Rey and Dominic Mysterio, even though Reigns is set to defend the Universal title at Hell in a Cell, now on SmackDown, against Rey. Meltzer said, and I quote, "In time, Kenny Omega is doing this heel turn to come back and turn and be a big babyface. Whenever that will be, in a year or whatever. With Kenny hurting, I don't know when that will be. Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega are essentially the same character in the sense that they are heels who are being groomed to be the top babyface star down the line of a promotion. AEW is at least trying to book it in a way to make matches exciting, and WWE is trying to book Roman Reigns and tell you, it doesn't matter, he's gonna kill this guy, whoever that guy is." End quote. Now, back in September of last year, it was WrestlingNews.co who reported long-term plans to eventually turn Reigns into a top babyface in the company. Basically, the idea is to elevate Reigns so he can be seen as someone who is on the same level as someone like John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, and Bruno Sammartino. Don't let the old schoolers or the old-timers catch wind of you putting Reigns' name in there with the Hulk Hogans and the Bret Harts and the Bruno Sammartinos. They may jump off a bridge somewhere. Also, they were told that the reason why Reigns is booked to be dominant in his feuds is because of the feeling that he needs to be booked like this when he wrestles The Rock. Clearly, Roman Reigns' booking has been perfect. It might have become a little stale, a little formulaic, a little same old, but the fact of the matter remains, he needs to be booked this way. And even when he does go up against The Rock, maybe show a little kink in his armor because it's Dwayne. The promo work back and forth between Reigns and The Rock, Heyman and The Rock should be out of this world, must-see television. But Roman Reigns is going to beat The Rock. Roman Reigns is going to conquer and be the head of the household, the head of the table, the tribal chief. Roman Reigns is going to beat The Rock, and he's going to be almost Super Saiyan untouchable at that point. So what happens then? WWE is going to run into a situation where The Rock is going to put over Roman, and Roman is going to be absolutely godlike. They don't have anybody on that roster that will even be remotely even on the same planet as Roman Reigns. They're not going to have anybody to put over Roman Reigns because he's going to be so far ahead of everybody else with him beating The Rock. So yes, the match is going to be great. The story is going to be great. The whole scene leading up to it's going to be great. But what happens when Roman beats The Rock? You better get the ball rolling now. You better get somebody in line and build him up so that maybe somebody has a chance of beating Roman, because right now, nobody. Roman Reigns may hold that title forever. That's the problem. Never mind turning him babyface. That's the problem you got to worry about now. He's not turning babyface anytime soon. We got a rumored match with John Cena coming up. He's not going to, well, he may, depending on how John Cena is received when it comes back. He may be booed out of the building. Roman may be babyface for that feud against John Cena. We don't know. But in my eyes, Roman's going to be the heel. John Cena's going to be the returning babyface. He's going to be more cheered than Roman's going to be cheered. So just by that, Roman's going to be a heel. Then we got a possible match, maybe, against Edge. Maybe. One-on-one match minus Daniel Bryan. Roman's going to be heel there too. A feud with The Rock. It's going to be a heel. A feud with Lesnar. He's going to be heel. So Roman's going to be heel for at least another year. If all of this goes according to WWE's plan, he's going to be a heel for the rest of the year. Full calendar year. After that, I don't mind you turning him babyface as long as he stays the way he is now. And this is what I've been preaching for 6 years. If you build him into a proper heel and he gets that down, turning him babyface is going to be just as successful because he will be a bigger star for it, which right now we're seeing. As long as he stays the same way, then we have no problem with him turning babyface because at this point, he will be the babyface that he should have been all those times that Vince forced him down our throat. But he's not turning babyface anytime soon. The plan is for him to turn babyface and be the number one priority, but that is going to be a little bit. A WWE source told WrestlingNews.co, and I quote, Vince doesn't want to portray Roman as a cowardly heel who gets his ass kicked 50% of the time. He is the guy who will carry the company for the next few years, and Vince sees him as a top priority. Protect Roman at all costs is the mentality in WWE. I agree. You either go all in or bust. There's no half-assing this. Roman needs to be booked the way he's been booked. No questions asked. If you got a problem, take it up with management, man. I'll see you after class. Sonya Deville, training for an in-ring return. We got an update on Sonya Deville, who's been out of action for almost a year now. Ringside News is reporting that Deville is preparing for a return, and actually WWE's original plans would have seen her already return by now. There were reportedly plans for it to be back in the ring around WrestleMania season, but it keeps getting pushed back another week, another 2 weeks, another week, another 2 weeks, end quote, so on and so forth, which is the norm in WWE as far as their career process goes. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and vice versa. Sonya Deville has been seen in the background of many training pictures. She's been on television. She's been an authority figure for both Raw and SmackDown with Adam Pearce. And Deville hasn't wrestled since SummerSlam last August after she took time away to deal with a stalker case in which somebody broke into her home and could have pretty much murdered her in her own home. Who this guy, Philip Thomas III, was found incompetent to stand trial. Throw him behind bars and let him rot, is what I say. Sonya Deville being back, man, when she was feuding with Mandy Rose, some of that stuff was excellent. We got a better version of Mandy Rose, probably the best version of Mandy Rose we got. Sonya Deville was a lot of people's favorite. She was up and coming, man. She really was. She was doing the thing, and she was cutting promos really good. And I hope that she can get back to that, because this whole stalker case kind of derailed all of that, man. It really did. Mandy Rose isn't doing much of anything, but Sonya Deville, to me, WWE put more stock in Sonya than they did Mandy. I don't know why. Mandy was the blonde one. You figured WWE would go with the blonde, but they're going with Sonya. And Sonya was getting good. She was getting better. She was getting that character down, and she could be a saving grace. Not completely, but she could be a shot of adrenaline that this women's division on either show, depending on where she goes, either show desperately needs. Seriously. She would fit right in anywhere. It depends on where WWE puts her. She could go to SmackDown. She could feud with Bianca Belair. She could feud with Sasha Banks. She could feud with Becky Lynch when she comes back. You could put her on Raw, feud her with Asuka, feud her with Rhea Ripley. The potential for Sonya Deville is there. It's all about execution, and if she can get back to what she was doing before all of this stalker nonsense, because she was on her way to being very good. Now, I wouldn't say a priority, but she was on her way to being one of the key factors in making that women's division successful. Dynamite, 611 viewership, improves after last week's record low, which I'm not really taking into consideration because the show ends at 12 o'clock. It's the summertime. Nobody's watching pro wrestling on Friday night till 12 o'clock. You're at a bar somewhere getting trashed, or you're out having a fucking life after being home all year. Nobody's home watching pro wrestling. Dynamite drew 487,000 viewers, which is up from the 462,000 viewers the show did previously. In the 18 to 49 demographic, the show did 0.19, which is the same from the previous week. And Dynamite was moved to Friday night at 10 p.m., once again due to the NBA playoffs. Last week's show set the record for the lowest viewership that an episode of Dynamite ever had. Again, I'm not taking that into consideration because they're not on Wednesday night, and they're on Friday night, which is not their normal night, at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. This is the type of shit that you're going to be getting. This is the type of shit that you're going to be getting. A lot of people either DVR it, watch it later, or you're like me, who's got a podcast to do, live stream to do on Friday night, and I watch it, and I watch SmackDown back-to-back with AEW. But the majority of the people are out having a good time. They're out having fun, living life after being home all year. They're not home watching pro wrestling. It's just a fact of the matter, folks. I don't take these numbers to be serious. When Dynamite goes back to Wednesday night, then we can start accumulating at their normal hour. That's when we can start accumulating ratings and taking them into consideration again. Right now, it's nothing more than whatever. They're not home on Wednesday night. They're on Friday night from 10 o'clock to 12, which, again, I said last week, makes me worry about Rampage. How many people are going to show up to watch Rampage? It's only an hour, but we may be running into the same situation with that. WWE owns Friday night with SmackDown. AEW may have a more difficult time generating interest and generating an audience after WWE on a Friday night. They're getting a taste of that right now with their main show, which may be worse for their secondary show. I don't know. The interest will be there in the beginning, but we may end up in the same situation with Rampage on TBS come January. AEW's live event ticket sales are selling faster than WWE. Dave Meltzer said this about WWE ticket sales, and I quote, "They're bad. People aren't buying tickets. It's a message." WWE are said to be not so good in many major cities, and Meltzer noted that AEW tickets are selling better in some WWE cities. They're behind in AEW in ticket sales as far as per show thing. They had a very good first week. Houston for July 16th with Edge on his first night back came out very strong. The Fort Worth pay-per-view is almost sold out, so they're going to have 10,000 people in there, so that's good. Dallas, I thought was weak, but now I don't think it's weak anymore compared to anything else. The only good one is there's a Raw in Chicago at the Allstate Arena, and that's probably around 6,000, 6,300 sold, which would be well below what I would expect, but I would certainly not call it bad this far in advance. It's okay. Most of the rest of the stuff is not okay. There's a lot under 2,000 tickets sold, a lot of shows. When it comes to the head-to-head with AEW, they're both running the Dallas market, and WWE is definitely ahead. Big in that one, but they are also in the American Airlines Center, and AEW is in this building in Garland, so they should have been way ahead, and they are. The ticket sales in Jacksonville, Florida are better for AEW than WWE, but that is expected because that's been their home base since the pandemic, and WWE is underperforming in other cities. Meltzer added Miami, AEW is ahead, and Charlotte, AEW is ahead. Charlotte is a big surprise because in those Carolina markets, WWE is typically way ahead in interest in those Carolina markets, and all the traditional wrestling markets, AEW is stronger in what I would call not traditional wrestling markets. They both put tickets on sale for Charlotte. AEW is in the B building and WWE is in the big building, and AEW is ahead in ticket sales. In Miami, neither side is doing good, but WWE ticket sales are not good at all. AEWs are okay in Miami. That's the barometer on if you're really hot or cold, and WWE is cold. Meltzer also added that it looks even worse for WWE because WWE's been pushing their live events harder on TV than AEW. He said that in some places, WWE ticket sales are scary bad. Listen, folks, when someone wants to tell you that ratings don't matter, they absolutely do. Because all of these people that are not buying tickets, they're not watching the shows on Monday and Friday night. Because they're sick and tired of the fucking shit that WWE's been giving them, and they're now speaking with their wallets, which makes me smile from ear to ear very, very much so. I love to see it, because that's the only way that they will learn. If nobody's going to come out and buy tickets to watch this shit live, then they're going to be forced to put on better shows. The ratings absolutely do matter. AEW is the stronger product. That is not a question of anything. It's not an excuse. I'm not doing it because I'm an AEW fanboy. WWE's product is dog shit. AEW, by default, is the better promotion in North America. Again, let me reiterate, I'm not shilling one over the other. I cover both very fairly. AEW is the better show. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure that one out. I don't need glasses. I don't need my vision checked. No matter what you think of AEW, it is the better show compared to WWE. Ratings matter. Why? Because if the ratings were up, then people would be more prone to spend money on live tickets to go watch them live. They're down, which then means WWE ticket sales are down and nobody wants to watch because the show is shit. And they're getting shit ratings because the show is garbage. WWE wants to keep Aleister Black away from AEW. Really now? What do you mean? PW Insider's reporting this week that there continues to be talks about Aleister Black amongst top executives. The feeling amongst people in the company was that releasing him was a premature decision. Anybody could have told you that, but you guys wanted to cite budget cuts. Aleister Black wasn't making Braun Strowman money, so you cut him not for budget cuts because everybody running this company is a fucking idiot. They have the IQ of this can of cherry seltzer that's sitting on my desk. Everybody running WWE in this upper management fucking role that they're in are a bunch of inept fucking industry idiots. If you realize what Aleister Black brought to the table, you wouldn't have released him. But now it's too late. It's too late. Aleister Black is not going back to WWE. He would be a fool to do so. He's already cited most of his major matches come from New Japan and AEW. His major dream matches, I should say. Let me correct myself. His major dream match list comes from New Japan and AEW. Nobody on that list is a WWE employee. His merchandise sales are booming. His creative chains are off. Now he gets to do what he wants with his own name, Tommy End. That was his name on the indies before WWE gave him the name of Aleister. Now he can do whatever he pleases. And I know for a fact of the matter, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that Tony Khan is already in discussions with Aleister Black to come on in to AEW. It's already going down. I'm sorry, the interest is there from AEW. The interest is there from Black to join AEW. They want to keep Aleister Black away from AEW. Oh, really? I heard a report that WWE really wasn't worrying about this anymore. But now you're going back again on your word? I guess the AEW effect is real. But according to the geeks online, there's no AEW effect. But I'm much smarter than everybody on social media, so that's that. Black started off with a feud in his return against Big E shortly before being released. It was clear that there were plans for him. The feud kicked off after weeks of vignettes leading up to him coming back as a heel. PW Insider added that the interest from AEW has sparked additional discussion about bringing Black back to the WWE. So keeping him away from the competition seems to be a factor here in these discussions. So if you bring him back, it's obviously to keep him away from AEW. And being that he's probably already in discussion with AEW and he's probably getting a ballpark figure of what he's going to be paid, it's going to take WWE even more money now to bring back somebody that they already have on their roster or had on their roster. WWE fucked themselves out of something great because Aleister Black never got an opportunity and you failed him. You failed him. And now he's going to shove it down your fucking throat when he goes somewhere else and he has match of the year contender after contender after contender after contender. I'm sorry, Vince. I'm sorry, Bruce. What was that? Crying rivers of tears because half of you are a bunch of fucking dummies. Now you gotta eat your shit because of the dumb fucking mistakes that you continue to do, continue to cause every single week. NXT viewership, they were up with the In Your House fallout. NXT drew 695,000 live viewers. That is up from 669,000 live viewers. It did a 0.19 in the 18 to 49 demographic, and the show did a 0.20 in the previous week. So that was down in the 18 to 49. All these pro wrestling companies continue to be impacted by the NBA playoffs. This was the fallout from the NXT TakeOver In Your House show, which I covered live. Go check that out. It's on the channel right now. Episode featured Tommaso Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher in a Texas Tornado match against the Grizzled Young Veterans. Kushida defended the Open Challenge Cruiserweight title in an Open Challenge against Trey Baxter of 205 Live. William Regal's announcement, which led to Samoa Joe being his new enforcer on NXT. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai faced Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter. And LA Knight had his $1 million coronation where he turned on Ted DiBiase. It was excellent television. Samoa Joe being back makes NXT feel important. I wasn't for it, but after I watched everything unfold and they put him exactly in the role I would have put him in, I'm all for it. There was no other place for him to go. He wasn't going to Impact, and if NXT wasn't going to let him wrestle, and WWE wasn't going to let him wrestle, more than likely AEW would not risk him to wrestle and ruin his life. Concussions are a very serious thing, and he's had multiple concussions over the last year and a half. So you're not going to put him in that situation. But him being back on NXT makes it, I don't want to say appointment television, but it definitely ups the importance. I feel this rating is going to be bigger next week because of what we've seen from Samoa Joe. That NXT video where Samoa Joe choked out Adam Cole, I think both videos where he was in the ring confronting Cross and him choking out Adam Cole on NXT, I think they're both over 1 million views. You never see Samoa Joe, or NXT, I should say. You never see NXT get over 1 million views on anything that WWE uploads to their YouTube channel. Samoa Joe, 1 million plus views. Everybody appreciates Samoa Joe. I don't think there's one human being alive that doesn't think Joe is fucking awesome. If you do, you got some mental fucking problems. I think this number is up next week, and I think Joe being back is going to give NXT just a little bit of that feel of the old NXT that we miss so desperately. Triple H was eager to bring back Samoa Joe after WWE released him. Dave Meltzer confirmed on the Wrestling Observer Live that Joe was being brought back to the company because Triple H was upset. He was mad that WWE released him instead of sending him initially back down to NXT. Triple H didn't want him to go anywhere else outside of the WWE family. This makes sense as Triple H was the person who initially brought Joe into NXT for his 2015 start. Up until that point, WWE officials had no interest in signing Samoa Joe because they body shamed Samoa Joe. They called Samoa Joe fat. They thought he was a fat Samoan. That wouldn't be much of anything on their roster. Triple H changed all that. He instantly became a fan favorite and instantly became a legitimate threat to all that were in the ring with him. Samoa Joe brings a sense of legitimacy that not many people have. Samoa Joe brings a sense of you drop your shit and what you're doing to listen to that man speak. He commands your attention like no other. Not many people do that. Samoa Joe does it with ease. And that's going to make NXT must see on Tuesday night. When he's there, it's going to make everything he's in must see. Triple H wanted him back. Originally, it was believed that Joe was just going to work NXT and wrestle, but there are no plans for him to wrestle, and there's no plans to bring him back to the main roster. Joe got a unique deal. He's William Regal's enforcer. William Regal's enforcer. He's going to be co-GM. He was originally getting a deal where when he was on NXT, he was working NXT, working independent dates. All that stopped when he did go to the main roster. And he got an exclusive deal with them on NXT. I don't know what his deal entails right now, but I'm pretty sure they're taking care of him. I'm pretty sure Triple H is taking care of Samoa Joe. He hasn't wrestled since February 2020 due to a history of concussions, and he's not slated to take any bumps unless, quote-unquote, provoked. Maybe he has one match, but that's about it. I think with him being in this role, I think this pretty much solidifies Samoa Joe's end of the line. I think we see the end of Samoa Joe. This is the career of Samoa Joe coming to an end. But, man, he is so good at what he does. He has so much value he could bring to that entire company. How could you release him, of all guys? I don't get it. Somebody doesn't know what they're doing, man. No matter if Samoa Joe can wrestle or not, I am not releasing Samoa Joe. Monday Night Raw viewership, 6-4. The go-home show for Hell in a Cell. 1.742 million viewers on the USA Network. That is up from 1.64 million viewers. Let the geeks on social media throw a parade. Raw's up. Oh, my God. They're trending in the right direction. The show sucks. The 18 to 49 demo saw an average of 0.49. That is up from the 0.48 the show did the previous week. No word on the hourly breakdown as far as viewership goes. The go-home edition for Sunday's Hell in a Cell featured RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Matt Riddle versus The New Day, which was the best thing on the show, bar none. Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles, which went 18 minutes and then turned into a six-man tag with Bobby Lashley, Omos, and the Viking Raiders. Eva Marie's return, which was the most pathetic thing that I remember seeing on Monday Night Raw. And alongside Eva Marie debuted Piper Niven, whose career is already over, which I will talk about in a second. I'm not going to go over my rant on Eva Marie. You guys want to watch it? It's in the Monday Night Raw review, man. Go and check it out. It is well, and I mean well, worth your time. There are absolutely no lies spoken in that podcast on Monday night. It was pathetic. I've mentioned this time and time again. The vignettes were a step backwards. Her being in this role and WWE using the same role for Eva Marie that she once had when she was there the first time all over again, but this time she's not wrestling. What do you think it's going to lead to? She's going to use Piper Niven to win the world championship, the women's world championship, and people are going to lose their mind. People are going to lose their mind. This is steps backwards that will never be recovered. The women's division will never recover from this. You cannot have somebody like this on the roster doing what she's doing. It doesn't play into heel heat. She's not a good heel. This is go-away heat greater than anything I could ever remember. You talk about Baron Corbin have go-away heat. This is go-away heat like I've never seen before, man. She is hated for all the wrong reasons. Go check out the review. Go check out the podcast. The rant is absolutely epic. I got news. We're going to end with the Piper Niven stuff, man. You're not going to like what I have to say at all. Vince McMahon is a big fan of Reginald. Reginald has been given more screen time on WWE, more so than many of the women wrestling in women's matches on both Raw and SmackDown. Turns out that Vince McMahon is a big fan. No wonder he's on television. Fightful Select reports that Vince McMahon is a fan of Reginald because of his presentation, delivery, and skill set in the ring for what he's asked to do. It was said by those in WWE that Reginald has been easy to work with and has been open to pitches given to him. So he's pretty much everything that Vanessa Bourne was not, that we talked about in the beginning of the show. He's somebody that's going to bend over backwards and say, yes, 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 instead of, Vince, I'm a guy, and this is a women's division. We're not really having true intergender matches. I don't believe I belong here. Maybe we can find something else better for me. He's not that type of guy. He's just going to take an opportunity, say yes to Vince McMahon, which is going to take away opportunities from all the other females wanting an opportunity, and then they have to watch a male in their division getting the work that they should be getting. Any questions? No, he's not that type of guy, though. He's going to take the opportunity and be selfish. Instead of speaking up and saying, hey, what are we doing here? I'm a male. I'm a valet. I'm a manager. Keep me there. I don't need to be in the ring doing flips and fucking non-wrestling moves, pretending that it's an intergender match. Now, clearly that's not going to happen because who's going to say that to Vince McMahon? But one could wonder. One could wish, you know? Reginald's been easy to work with. He's been open to pitches given to him. Reginald, real name Sidney Bateman, signed with the WWE last year after performing Cirque du Soleil. He made his main roster debut alongside Carmella and has also been paired with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Speaking of buried, Shayna Baszler's in the grave. Just waiting for WWE to start digging the fucking dirt on top of the casket, which is already closed, by the way. Maybe we get Lily to do that on Hell in a Cell Sunday. He's only worked 4 matches thus far, all in the women's division. And I think the most recent bout came May 31st on Raw, where he beat Shayna Baszler. Of course he did. Beat Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler was pinned by Reginald on Raw. Great job there, Vince. Great job. How you could take Shayna Baszler and have her lose to Reginald, I don't know. I don't get it. Piper Niven. This is what we are going to end with, ladies and gentlemen. Piper Niven's Raw debut. You know, it almost didn't happen due to last-minute changes. This week's episode on Monday Night Raw featured the return of Eva Marie. Evolution. She's been hyping this Evolution. She was scheduled to face off against Naomi in a singles match. However, that did not end up happening as she was brought to Monday Night Raw to have the same role that she had on SmackDown in her first stint, and that is to not wrestle. Instead of coming up with excuses and actually being in the ring when the bell rang. Now she's not even in the ring, but she's having somebody else do her work. Back then, she was in the ring and had wardrobe malfunctions and faking injuries and just being, I can't work. Coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse. So it's pretty much the same thing now. She just has somebody doing her dirty work for her. Piper Niven squared off against Naomi and beat her in less than a minute. Now, Piper Niven's debut happened at the very last minute. According to a report by Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful Select, Piper Niven's debut alongside Eva Marie was originally the plan as of the weekend, but then the plan was nixed. However, the company, as of the weekend, reinstated the plan going into Monday. So it must have happened late Sunday night. Piper Niven, I believe, I don't know where she's located. I don't know where she lives. Maybe she lives in Orlando with the rest of the NXT recruits. Maybe she had to come overseas. I don't know. But as of this weekend, it was nixed and then reinstated. So you can imagine what this woman is dealing with. Am I showing up? Do I got to fly? Do I got to travel? Do I got to do this? Do I got to do that? Okay, now I'm not. Let me change my plans. All for the plans to go back and change to what they originally were. Can you imagine? Can you imagine getting called up to Monday Night Raw and all of this indecision already? It just bodes well for your future there, Miss Niven. Or not any longer, Miss Niven. However, the company decided to go through with the new plan after all, and Piper would end up debuting on Raw. Due to the rapid changing nature of Raw, it is not known if Niven's debut would have even happened on the show. WWE, there was a rumor before Raw that was also reported by Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp that WWE had pitched a ridiculous new name for Piper Niven on Raw, being that she's now a main roster recruit. The new name that they pitched was Dough Drop or Do Drop, D-O-U, Drop. Dough Drop, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. She is currently without a name on the show. Nobody really acknowledged who she is or where she came from. Go figure. This is another edict by WWE. All of her work in NXT UK flushed down the fucking toilet. It's okay. We know who she is, but apparently WWE doesn't want us to know that it's Piper Niven. Now she's got a new identity, a new alias on the main roster. It was reported as of Friday, right before I recorded this live, that WWE has trademarked the name Dough Drop or Do Drop, D-O-U Drop, D-R-O-P. That will be Piper Niven's new name on Monday Night Raw. Now, Piper Niven has had quite the week. First of all, she potentially had her career ruined on Monday Night Raw with all of the neglect and the name change on Monday night. Then she was body shamed by multiple fans online, which I knew was going to happen no matter if she debuted on Raw, debuted on SmackDown, went to NXT. It doesn't matter where she showed up, she was going to be body shamed. She is not a thin woman. Okay? I didn't know who Piper Niven was before she signed with WWE. I didn't really know anything about her. She showed up in the Mae Young Classic, and I'm like, I don't know if she was Viper in the Mae Young Classic, which was her name on the Indies, or it was Piper Niven. Either way, I think it was Viper, and then they changed her name to Piper Niven when she joined NXT UK. I could be wrong on that. But when I saw her in the Mae Young Classic, she stuck out to me for being a very good professional wrestler. She was actually, besides Tony and Io in that tournament, and Mercedes Martinez had a good tournament that year too, Piper Niven was my MVP of the Mae Young Classic. She was great in that Mae Young Classic. I'm like, this is the type of professional wrestler that this women's division needs. That's the type of woman that this division needs. She was body shamed all week. She was body shamed all week. It was disgusting. This is something that she's probably been dealing with all of her career, and it's going to be exacerbated and magnified, I should say. You want to throw magnetized in there as well? So be it. It's going to be magnified tenfold on the main roster. First of all, fans that body shamed her are ridiculous. Okay? The people crying about women being body shamed is even more utterly ridiculous because those are people looking to push an agenda that they clearly don't have any recollection of. They have no fucking iota of a clue what's going on. First of all, it's not because she's a woman that she's being body shamed. She's not thin. It's not a fucking secret. But that doesn't mean you got to go out there and shame her for the way she looks. She's there to wrestle. She's a damn good pro wrestler. But the men get body shamed as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Kevin Owens somebody that's been body shamed by everybody from Randy Orton to Vince McMahon and everybody in between? Kevin Owens has been publicly body shamed by WWE. Bray Wyatt's been publicly body shamed by WWE. You name it. Samoa Joe has been publicly body shamed by WWE. They wouldn't even fucking look at Samoa Joe because he was fat. Or so they thought. Where's Keith Lee? Is Keith Lee off of television because he's hurt? Is Keith Lee off of television because he's got COVID? Is Mia Yim pregnant? No. Keith Lee's off television because Keith Lee, in the eyes of management, was a fat wrestler. That's why. So it works both ways. Piper Niven wasn't body shamed because they're picking on females and you got to make it into a feminist agenda. The men are just equally as body shamed, okay? Now, if you really look, and we're going to end on this. First of all, I find it hilarious how WWE, again, it always goes into the situation of WWE's got to change something that isn't broken. They got to fix something that's not broken. What was wrong with the name Piper Niven? Was Piper Niven too cool for Monday Night Raw? I wasn't even hot on that name to begin with, but it's much better than fucking Dewdrop or Doudrop. Was Piper Niven too cool of a name for Monday Night Raw? Was it not comedic enough for Monday Night Raw? I want you guys to think about the name Doudrop or Dewdrop, okay? Look at the first three letters. D-O-U. The first three letters in the word donut are D-O-U. I love a good donut, man. I love donuts. Well, clearly WWE Creative thinks Piper Niven loves donuts as well. Then you got the word drop. Depending on how you pronounce it, dough drop, donut, drop. Let the donut drop, do drop. However you pronounce it, it is WWE, not blatantly, not up front, but you see where they're going with this. The name that they gave Piper Niven is WWE indirectly body shaming Piper Niven. You know what I think about when I look at the name Dough Drop or Dewdrop? Donut. And then drop. Yes, please do lose the pounds. Yes, you would do yourself a favor if you dropped some weight. WWE is directly, I don't even want to say indirectly, it's fucking blatant. Anybody could see it, but nobody's going to speak up on it because everybody wants to fucking toe the company line. This is what WWE does. They're not afraid to do what they do. They're body shaming Piper Niven with the name Doudrop, Dewdrop, however the fuck you pronounce it. Think about that. And when you see her on TV next, I want everybody to fucking voice your opinion. Fuck the name. I don't believe how these people don't grasp. A name is important. An entrance is important. Music is important. No, but the name Dewdrop or Doudrop is going to make her into a household fucking main event level superstar in the women's division. This is going to bomb. Eva Marie's debut has already bombed. Piper Niven, her career is fucking finished. I'm waiting for the WWE fucktard on social media, the shill on social media, to say, well, at least she's making a main roster paycheck. That's all that matters. Ha, 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 ha. While you stream in front of fucking 20 fucking people. You fucking geek. Meanwhile, people are gonna come to me because they're gonna hear the absolute fucking fact and the truth of the situation. Main roster money. There comes a point where money is not going to be the most important thing. This woman, this poor girl is going to look back on her career and say, why did I do that? Yeah, the money was great, but I wanted so much more than the money. I wanted everything that comes with being a pro wrestler. I want to win championships. I want to main event shows. I want to headline. I want to be an inspiration to women's wrestling. What a fucking disgrace. An absolute fucking pathetic excuse of a company is WWE. I want you to think about everything I mentioned here. If you didn't think about it alone to yourself, now you know, because I put it out there in the universe. Think, look, observe. This is what they do. Piper Niven, dead already after night 1 on Monday Night Raw. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I hope you enjoyed this podcast today. If you guys are listening on Spotify and iTunes as well, thank you guys very, very much. Leave a rating on the way out, 5-star rating. Thank you. Let me know what you think. If you guys enjoyed this on YouTube, again, I appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below in the comments below. Sound off. The comment section is yours. Go and get yourself some Sheath. Sheathunderwear.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off, man. Makes a great gift. Get yourself something. Get your dad something. Get your father something. Your granddad something. Whatever, man. Whatever. Go and get somebody in your family some nice, comfortable underwear, man. It's going to be a hot summer. I feel it already. Go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. They are on the homepage right now. And go follow me on social media, man. At JD from NY206 on Twitter and on Instagram. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Hell in a Cell, live, right here on YouTube, live in the venue, live on OTS. Until then, guys, I greatly appreciate all your support. We are on our way to 124,000 subscribers. Can't do it without you guys. Thank you so very much, and I'll see you tomorrow night live for Hell in a Cell. See you guys later.